It's time for Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
And you thought school was a nightmare when you attended. This is Wretched Radio. Let me take you back to school to introduce you to a word that is the latest trend, which frankly isn't all that late. It's been around for decades. It seems to be bubbling right to the top, and thought you should know this is what the kids are being indoctrinated by at universities. A lot. Why? Because it has implications for Christians. That's why. Today's special word, class, intersectionality. Get used to it. You're going to be hearing it a lot in every class on university campuses. Intersectionality, if not by name, by concept, is being taught. We're going to take a little deeper look into this word to understand why our kids are thinking perhaps the way they are and what we as Christians can do to help them. Remember, not battle them, not debate and argue with them, not to scold and shame them. I know for some of us it's a spiritual gift, but we want to win them, not call them names like snowflakes and things.
I have to stop that. I'm just wondering, intersectionality has anything to do with two roads and stop signs? And
You know, sort of, yes. Let me try to explain what this thing called intersectionality is, and then you can try to figure out if it has anything to do with roads and stop signs, because in a sense it does. Let me share with you why this is of concern, and then we're going to dive into the definition of it. It's a religion. At least it has all the hallmarks of a religion. Do they have a deity? Yeah, actually they do. People that they idolize to the point of worship, so it seems. Its doctrine is the sacralization of marginalized groups. Lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgender, genderqueer, racial minorities, women, etc. So we want to raise these people up actually higher than everybody else. The original sin of intersectionality is privilege. Its conversion experience is called yoke. You become woke. Woke.
Woke, very different.
Completely different. Its piety is called allyship. Adherents must celebrate the sanctity of experience and may never question the moral authority of the marginalized. Any departure from these tenets is treated as heresy, and the heretics are banished. In other words, it sounds an awful lot like religion. So what is it exactly? It's a somewhat new movement. It's a cousin, at the very least, of diversity, but it's more radical than diversity. Accepting different people groups, embracing people with whom you formerly disagreed, you didn't appreciate or somehow affirm their lifestyle. That's embracing diversity. And this is hyper diversity. It's an academic invention. It probably, if I had to trace this back further, it probably started outside of academia. There tend to be, even though they're academicians, there tend to be philosophers, wise guys who come up with a concept. Then academia grabs it, starts indoctrinating the kids, and then the next key in all of this is popularization. You've got to take it from the philosophical, from the academic, and you've got to somehow turn it into something that the hoi polloi can grasp. How does that tend to happen? Hollywood, music, movies, a popular person who is somehow just becomes famous, and then they popularize the idea because they just bring it down to street level. When it hits that point, look out. It's getting to that level right now. The Progressive Academy, allied with critical race studies, queer studies, women's studies, and ethnic studies, has a goal to smash the neoliberal, corporate, heteropatriarchal academy, in other words, straight, white, European males, and then to reinvent it in a way that rejects traditional notions. They want to redefine family. They want to abolish binary genders of man and woman. And frankly, they want to tear down anything else that had anything to do with the old system. Why? Because that was the system responsible for oppressing these people groups that formerly were not approved of. And so now, to go beyond diversity, we need to bring down, let's just call the term that's being used so much, the white, heterosexual, European, Christian male. That entire system needs to come down. Well, the patriarchy, but I just want to include...
That's the shorthand term.
I know it, but patriarchy can be any pater. This is white, European male. This goes back to postmodernism. This goes back to the whole idea of tearing down logic and reason because of its consequences. Who were the people that were responsible for the predominant thinking in the West? White European males. What's the problem? Well, the West has done nothing but oppress people. It's all it's done. So gay people, women, minorities, they have simply been oppressed. Therefore, the whole shebang has to go. And they do it now through intersectionality, a term that's been around since 1989. There was an anti-discrimination law. This is important. Black feminist scholar Kimberly Crenshaw made a case for treating race and gender not as separate legal categories, but as a new combined category. So while a woman might claim discrimination on the basis of sex and a black man might claim it on the basis of race, neither sex nor race alone could capture the discrimination endured by a black woman, hence intersectionality. Whatever your not white European Christian male descriptor is, how many of those do you have? They intersect. That's what you now are. So if you are a woman and you're black and you're a lesbian, now, where those three things intersect, that's you. You're no longer a human being. You're defined by whatever your oppressed identity is. That's intersectionality. Why is it a dangerous thing? Well, let's continue. By the way, this article is taken from firstthings.com. Props to Elizabeth Corey, who tackles a pretty big subject, brings it down to a level where it's like, okay, I kind of get what they're doing here. Black women found themselves at the intersection of two different kinds of prejudice, race and gender, and couldn't receive remedy by addressing one or the other alone. It was a complicated law case, but it was basically about winning this case. In order to win this particular case, she couldn't just be a woman. It had to be a black woman to win the case, hence intersectionality. She's not just a woman. She's not just black. She's a black woman. And therefore, she should win this case. Again, it's not worth getting into the details, but that's basically the gist. Writers since Crenshaw, back in 1989, have expanded the term to cover studies that integrate the disadvantages caused by sexual orientation, class, age, body size, gender identification, ability, and pretty much anything else. Left-handedness, red hair, freckles, doesn't matter. You got it. It intersects with all of the other monikers that we can slap on you, and that's what you are, an oppressed people group. Therefore, we've got to raise you up by bringing down the white European Christian male. Personal identity results from the combination of many aspects of identity. Each one signifies a measure of either oppression or privilege. As a whole, these traits determine an individual's position in the matrix of domination. Now, are you starting to get the gist that this could be dangerous? Are you sensing that? What do people tend to do when they feel like they have been oppressed for a long time? They've been under somebody's yoke unjustly. What do they tend to do? Overthrow it. By what means? Well, usually any means necessary. Ask the French. Ask the Americans. That's precisely what people do. Do you see where this could be going? Now, to continue our understanding, intersectionality deals not only or even primarily with individuals. Individuality is secondary. to group identity. So if you are a group, blacks, women, and others have the distinct disadvantage of being a part of a non-dominant social structure. Even if they're wealthy, even if they are the president of the United States, doesn't matter. They're a part of the non-dominant social structure. They're the targets of prejudice, discrimination, fear, and hatred. So the only solution to this society-wide problem is coalition building and political action. In other words, they need themselves a revolution. What does this mean to you and me and our families? What does this mean to the church? And, perhaps most importantly, how do we engage with the intersectionality trend? Next on Wretched Radio. Thank you very much for watching one segment. You can listen to 3 more, well, if you can stomach it, for free at wretched.org, iTunes, Android, whatever your listening device is. If you have a plate in your head, you can pick up the program from anywhere around the world, thanks to the ongoing monthly support of our gospel partners. Should you be one of the people who has listened to the program for an extended period of time, meaning more than once, would you please consider becoming a gospel partner so we can continue to proclaim the good news of the gospel? Simply visit wretched.org.